Yes, folks, hello, welcome once again to Monetary Games and Collectibles. It's time for another action figure review here on the channel. And as you can see on the screen in front of you right now, today's installment is taking a closer look at the new G.I. Joe Classified Series Mistress Armada figure. So stick around, I'm going to give you all the ins and outs, ups and downs that you need to know. So if you've been thinking about picking up a Mistress Armada of your own, you can get good, thorough information to make a purchase decision around it. I'm going to kick things off by jumping back in time and taking a look at the packaging on the day it arrived on my doorstep. Then we'll jump into Mistress Armada herself, talk about the aesthetic and the visual experience, talk about the articulation and the posability, have a look at the accessories and decide whether they're added value, and then pop her next to a couple of other G.I. Joe Classified Series figures so you can see how she kind of fits into the collection. And with all that said and done, you should have plenty of information to know whether Mistress Armada is a figure you want to crack your wallet or purse open for. So let's get into it, and let's jump back in time to visit past Chris, having a look at the box on the day it arrived. Here we go! Okay then, folks, well, here is Mistress Armada in the packaging then, and as you can see, it's the standard G.I. Joe Classified Series packaging we've come to know and love for a while now. We've got the window here showing off the figure and all the goodies, the logo at the bottom, G.I. Joe Classified Series. She's a Cobra Iron Grenadier. We've got the carbon fiber motif thing going on, Mistress Armada name at the top corner. All pretty standard. Then on the back, got the number in the top corner there, number 210. Got the digital render with an action pose and two breakaway windows showing off a few key features. Legal bollock and malarkey across the bottom. Mine's got an import sticker here for Hasbro Hong Kong because I bought this through In Demand Toys here in the UK, who import their figures. Thanks once again to those guys. And then, of course, we've got the file card information. Let's take a little look at Mistress Armada's info and learn about it together, shall we? All right, then. Well, we've got this kind of dollar sign over the crossbones here. Mistress Armada is all about the Benjamin, so much so she'll put you in the ground for whatever's in your wallet. This here's a Kit Kat bar, folks. Mistress Armada's got a weakness for Nestle chocolate, just loves that Northern European chocolate action from Switzerland. Then we've got a ring with what appears to be a collection of hearts, 5 hearts there. Mistress Armada's a heartbreaker. She's got fellas all over the place, falling over themselves, sending her valentines. She just breaks all their hearts. And then finally, we've got some luggage, got some baggage there, because as you can imagine, with all this plate armor and gold helmet and whatnot, when she travels, she needs good quality luggage. Nice bit of artwork up the side here, like this one. Good cheeky pose, good action shot. That's one of the better ones I've seen of late into that. And then the other side's got the QR code to nowhere, the repeat of the artwork, the repeat of the file card, just all the irrelevant information that's said for a second time. So there we go then, folks. There's Mistress Armada in packaging for the minting box, folks. I'm not minting box, though. I'm going to crack her open, get good and hands-on with some man-child playtime, get her posed up, do some photos, pop her in some dios, see what she looks like next to some of the other figures in my collection. And I'm going to jot down some review thoughts while I do it. So stick around. Future Chris is going to return and give you those review thoughts in 3, 2, 1. All right then, folks, well, here's Mistress Armada as she came out of packaging, a full head-to-toe look to start with, and we're going to move into the aesthetic and visual experience section of the review. You can have a good head-to-toe look while I just start things off. And to my understanding, Mistress Armada's never had a figure before, certainly not a vintage figure, and I don't think she appeared in anything like the 25th anniversary line or out. So this is drawing most of its inspiration from her comic book appearances in the Devil's Due comics. Now, I remember her from the issues I was wearing in a kind of purple leotard thing, but then someone in my comments drew my attention to later appearances, and she does have a kind of red, black, gold ornate design. So they are drawing inspiration from the comic books, but they have interpreted her. This is a classified interpretation of the character, and she's definitely been updated and looks somewhat different, even though the core kind of visual identifiers are there in terms of the black and the red and the gold as a member of the Iron Grenadiers. So getting in a little closer then, the head sculpt's pretty good. It does look a little different to the digital render that we saw a while back. I feel like the face is a little bit narrower in comparison, and so fits a bit slimmer on the overall profile, but still, it's a good head sculpt nonetheless. Good facial features, good paint applications, unique character with her own personality. You can see the lips, the eyes, the eyebrows, all well painted. Little earrings, little stud earrings on the earlobes there. Good facial features sculpted in, and then she's got her hair sculpted along with the ponytail. There's one thing to point out. I got a little bit of, I don't know if it's paint spill or paint rub, but there's a little bit of the gold on the underside of her ponytail there. Again, it's one of those small negligible things that only really a pernickety toy tuber would pick up on, to be fair, but it's there nonetheless. But yeah, lovely solid head sculpt, and then moving down into the figure itself, you can see nice sculpted details with paint applications like the two little buttons at the top of the collar, the red trimming around the uniform. She's got these nice shoulder pads here in the golden colour with a Iron Grenadier symbol on the front, all painted on over top of the red design. Got the big boob window in a uniform, doing it Power Girl style. A very eye-catching part of the figure that gives her some increased shelf presence for us male nerds. But nice red trimming and then lovely kind of textural designs, folds, creases there in the top of her uniform. Got a couple of insignias on each of the shoulders here. These are the Destro and Iron Grenadier logos on each of the two arms. You can see more texture detail here at the top of the sleeve, around the back there. And then the arms themselves are in this kind of plate mail armor style design with these skulls over the top of the elbows. It looks really, really cool and very, very menacing. Moving a bit further down, you can see she's got this belt section here. That's fine. Looks a bit plasticky on top of some of the other sections of the uniform, but that's okay. Sculpted details. Painted belt buckle. Always a fan of a painted belt buckle, and that's the Iron Grenadier golden skull again. And then you can see on the hands, while I'm sort of in this middle section, she's got these red fingerless gloves with painted fingernails on the ends of the fingers. More texture detail where it's all sort of bunched up and creased at the top of her trousers there. And then into the legs, which continue that sort of plate armor motif there. You can see these lovely sculpted thigh pieces and shin pieces with the skulls from the elbows replicated over the front of the knees, again, giving her a really, again, just a more menacing, more aggressive kind of look. The armor pieces are just on the front, but they've sculpted in little sections where you can see they're clasped onto straps at the back of the legs. That's actually quite hard to make out unless you sort of really zone in on it, because the black of the leg trouser design is the same black. They've just painted over the top of the straps as well, so no extra sort of details there around the buckles or the straps coming around the back themselves, which is a bit of a shame. And then her feet, her shoes are in the plate mail design as well, so you've got the plate mail on the top and at the heel, and then the little kind of golden caps on her boots there, with a small bit of paint application on the little loops on the little buckles that are holding those in place. Just a little side note, I'll revisit it when I come to articulation, but she's definitely got the curse of the female classified curved feet that make her not a great independent stander. She rocks and falls backwards and forwards with this sort of curved design in here and the curved heel. One other thing that stood out to me, I meant to mention it, sorry, I'll return to it. This belt piece across the top is sculpted on. It's not a loose belt piece at all, or glued on, I should say. Well, that's sculpted on, then this section seems glued on there. So it's not floating and moving around like they sometimes do, and not requiring a little bit of fiddling and finessing to make it look right. Now, aesthetically, in terms of the visual experience, Mistress Armada is a very eye-catching figure. Obviously, the least of which is just this massive splash of silver armor plating all over her, which gives her lots of shelf presence sat atop of that black, red, and gold uniform underneath. It is sculpted plastic, so it has got that kind of silvery, metallic-y marbling effect in it, which is a little bit of a shame. Sometimes stands out to me as making it a little bit too toyetic. It's not too bad on Mistress Armada, though, in her defense, but something to bear in mind. But in terms of the whole experience of looking at her on a shelf, particularly in amongst the other Iron Grenadier characters, she still stands up on her own. You know, she still stands apart, even next to a Destro with a big gold helmet and, a metalhead with his rockets hanging over his shoulders and stuff. So yeah, really interesting figure, absolutely. And as folks who watch this channel regularly know, big supporter, big advocate for increasing the gender diversity across the line. So it's great to see not just another female character, but another female character with loads of personality and shelf presence, which I'm really into. Which means I'm giving Mistress Armada a thumbs up on the visual experience for sure. All right, there we go. So there's the aesthetics. Let's now take a look at her articulation and posability, shall we? And as always, folks, Mistress Armada is the standard female G.I. Joe classified series articulation scheme. So if you're less interested in seeing this section of the video, I put timestamps in. You can use the chapters, jump ahead to take a look at my discussion of the accessories and whether they're added value. However, if this is the first ever G.I. Joe classified series review you've ever watched, or you're interested to know if there's any particular unique quirks with the figure's design, then stick around, I'll talk you through it, and we'll get started up top with the head. Mistress Armada's got a ball at the base of the skull, ball at the base of the neck. Her forward gets you down to there, her back gets you up to there, and then you can move her around, swivel and tilt on the ball. The ponytail gets in the way of the full 360 unless you kind of do a little angling thing to get it over the top. Oh, and I nearly forgot, the ponytail is pegged in, so you can, swivel it around, move it about into different designs across the shoulders there. Coming down into the torso then, we'll start with the shoulders. We've got a butterfly joint, a peg, and a hinge. What I will say, though, is the butterfly joint sits really kind of far back into the figure, and I have not been able to get a great deal of movement shuffling forward, back and forth on those at all, even after giving her a little bit of hairdryer heat. The peg and the hinge are in good order, though. You can go full 360 all the way around and T-shape her out like so. Got a swivel here at the bicep and tricep. It sits at the point where the armoured section meets the clothed section. You've got a pinless double elbow that'll get you up to there. Then it's pegged in hands, trigger finger hands, with an up and down hinge on this side and a forward and back hinge on this side. We've got a barbell joint across the torso and a ball joint in the waist, so she can crunch forward about that much, she can crunch back about that much, and then obviously got loads of swivel motion at the top and at the bottom in the barbell joint and the ball joint there. Drop down hinges at the hips and groin, so you can come down like so, come down like so. You can get forward this far, although this one is restricted by the strap of the holster there, and you can brush and ballet out that much. Again, you can see the holster strap is getting in the way on this side. Got a thigh cut at the top here, and again, it runs at the top of the armour plating line there. Pinless double knee, that will get you up to there. No boot cut, but she does have an ankle swivel, an ankle cut. So you've got that boot motion down here underneath the armour plating, and then it's the hinge and rocker on the feet. The only thing I'll point out there is that the armour design coming down the front means that your forward is restricted a little bit, and it's a bit fiddly the way it's pegged into the foot there sometimes. It adds to that wobbliness that these curvy feet give when you're trying to get her to stand up. And I think sometimes as well, not being able to go further forward there sometimes means you can't overcompensate. You can't compensate for the tipping that she sometimes does, but nowhere near as bad as the likes of, say, Jinx or Retro Scarlet. So Mistress Armada articulates good. I was able to pose her up in a variety of poses that that I was looking for in terms of the pictures I was taking the other day. The only thing really, like I say, is that the low boot cut at the ankle, and then the fact that you can't come quite as far forward as you might want sometimes, and then the curved bottom of the feet means that she's a bit of a fidget to get her independently standing sometimes. She plays a little bit of a topple game, but overall, all good, all fine. Was able to do some stuff. My imagination was not limited by the articulation at all, so I'm going to give her a thumbs up. So there we go. There's articulation and posability. Let's now take a look at her accessories and decide whether they're added value or not. And we'll start things off on the accessory side with the head swap, which is this very ornate kind of ancient Greek style or ancient Roman style kind of battle mask, face mask type thing. I think they said on one of the streams actually that she'd stolen it from a museum and decided to keep it for herself, rather than throwing it in the loot in the booty. But yeah, this is really interesting. Definitely got interesting kind of sculpted details in there. You can see like the kind of laurel crown with a little piece molded in on the back. Then this sort of drape hair stroke armor design. So yeah, very, very interesting. I must admit, I'm less into this. I prefer her standard profile, but certainly an interesting addition, and also adds a little bit of balance when she's in a lineup next to the gold-headed Cobra Commander, the gold-headed Destro. Then while we're on head accessories, she also has this kind of visor with communicator earpiece thing as well. The comic book character, Mistress Armada character, wore these visors with communicators on them, so drawing heavy inspiration from the source material there. So we've got this red see-through visor design. You can see the eyes underneath, with then the communicator device with a little mic around the front of the chin and the aerial there. It's fine. It sits a bit loose. It's a bit fiddly. It also suffers from a problem I seem to be coming across a lot with the glasses, where the arm here that's supposed to go over the ear isn't long enough to actually hook over the ear. If you hook it over the ear, it kind of sits at a weird angle like that. There's a bit of a fiddle, bit of a fuss, but it certainly adds to the visual experience, definitely, and gives her another look in the range of what you can do with her. Then we have Mistress Armada's weapon loadout. So she's got this golden ornate pistol with some nice kind of ornamental sculpted details in there, and then she's got her her dress sword with a sheath. Pistol's nice, like I say, got this little sort of sculpted in ornamental effect, making it very unique and garish. But other than that, I'm pretty sure we've seen the core pistol before in the line, which is all fine and dandy. She's got a holster for that on her hip, just here like so. Then she's got her sword, so the sheath's got a leathery effect with two sort of goldeny, brassy capped sections, and then the sword itself got sculpted details here around the hilt. Don't know what that is. Is that like a snake around the hilt? It's a little bit sloppy. And then the blade here, although it's in that kind of plastic, so it's got a very plasticky vibe, not a painted blade at all. And then some sculpted details on the handle. You can see it's got a little peg here, and you might have noticed earlier on when I was moving her around, she's got a peg hole on the other hip, just there, and you can peg it in like so. It looks like it's attached to a belt. And then finally, a little world building piece. She's got like a little, fan of Benjamins there, $100 bills, because she's a mercenary and all about the money, like the rest of the Iron Grenadiers. So you can see she's got this little fan of $100 bills. I suppose my only criticism of that is that she is a British character, B, works for a Scottish laird, and C, according to her file card, lives in Transcarpathia. So, why it's not British pounds or Scottish pounds or whatever currency they use in Transcarpathia, I don't know. But I suppose, Transcarpathians probably use dollars, don't they? American dollars. But yeah, nice little world building piece for a bit of fun posing and dio designs. So, yeah, the accessory selection is fun, it is interesting. I mean, head swaps are always good, even though that doesn't appeal to me. It might appeal to others, and that's all fine and dandy. Your mileage will vary with that, I suppose. Bit of world building stuff, bit of character, bit of personality, half decent loadout. I do feel like she's missing something. Perhaps a case, like to go with the money, like a case of money or something, just to kind of add to that sort of mercenary, financially driven kind of motive or something, or a slightly bigger piece of weaponry, like something more submachine gunny. But overall, a lot of fun, and certainly in terms of opening up your world of possibility, you can have a sword fighting, you can have a gun fighting, you can have her doing dirty back alley deals, counting the money and all that kind of good stuff. So yeah, works out overall, I think. Is it added value? It's a little bit light, but overall it's fine. And then of course just the general kind of curse of this type of headgear that doesn't quite fit right. They just can't seem to. Lately I've just been finding myself increasingly frustrated with things that are glasses just not sitting properly over faces. So I'm going to give it a 10 o'clocker. I think I'm going to drop a few points for the glasses not fitting properly, because I'm not so keen on this helmet and head, and I can't see myself using it much, and because I feel like she's just missing something as simple as a case, like a dirty deal cash case or something. So there we go. All right, well, there's the accessories and added value then. Let's now take a look at Mistress Armada next for a couple of other figures, shall we? And we'll start things off with the kind of obvious display pairing, I suppose. Mistress Armada with the Iron Grenadier Destro. Very fancy pants looking pair, this pair, aren't they? Here she is with Darklon, another Iron Grenadier character that I imagine she will be displayed up with quite frequently. And here she is with the Iron Grenadier Trooper. Lovely kind of uniformality between these two, isn't there? You can tell that she's like one of the gaffers, but still nice consistency on that front. Here she is, just completely randomly with Taurus, because that's just who I happened to have a sword fighting with when I was taking some pictures the other day. And finally, here she is with the Toxo Viper, fellow Wavemate, and probably going to be the next review here on the channel. All right then, folks, well, here's Mistress Armada going around on the turntable, so you get a nice 360 look at the figure. Apologies for my studio lights reflecting in her visor there, and you can, eyeball that while I offer up some final thoughts. And as you probably gathered from the review, I really like this figure. She's ticking a lot of boxes for me. Another female character in the line, yes. Interesting aesthetic, interesting visual experience with loads of shelf presence, yes. Expansion of the Iron Grenadiers as another kind of force, another sort of unit within the collection, yes. Awesome all round, and a little bit balmy as well. So ticking lots of boxes for me. Very much enjoying this figure. It's a bit of a contest, I suppose, between her and Synapse for who has been capturing my attention the most over this last couple of days while I've had them in hand. But I think Mistress Armada's just pipping Synapse slightly at the post. Overall, I feel like I've just done it a little bit more with her. As far as criticisms go, yeah, she's a bit of a fuss and a fiddle to get her to stand independently. But if you've got more patience than me, that's not an issue at all. I suppose your mileage will vary in the sense of her being a comic book character from one of the more obscure titles that were less well read than some of the other comic book titles. So you might find less of a nostalgic connection or feel less inclined to pick her up on that front. But in terms of a good, solid female character for the line, yeah, rock solid. Nice big concrete slab of quality female G.I. Joe classified series with a really unique and interesting design. And that's overall a thumbs up in my book. So there we go. Would I recommend the figure? Yes, I would. All right. So there we go. Thanks very much for watching. I hope you found this useful. If you've been thinking about picking it up for yourself, if it was useful, then hit all those buttons that help a YouTuber out. In the meantime, I'd like to wish you a great day. I'd like to wish you a great week and come back around for another video sometime soon. It'd be my absolute pleasure to have you. All right. Well, oh, damn it. Finishing the video with the back towards the screen again. I'm not very good at this, am I? Come on. Come on, Mistress Armada. Have a great day. Have a great week and swing back around again for another video sometime soon. It will be my pleasure to have you. See you later, folks.